Good evening, everyone. My name is Renu and I am from Chennai, South India. I am a storyteller, I'm a trainer. I love to teach both adults as well as children. I do sessions for both students and as well as children, as well as adults. Sorry, I got a bit distracted because she was trying to join. Okay, so I am passionate about storytelling. I very often create my own stories. I sometimes, when I go on my morning walk, I get a sudden inspiration from a sight that I see, or some plant, or tree, or flower, and then I create the story in my head. I try it out with some friends, and mostly I attend a great many story swaps that happen in the US. Three story swaps every month without a fail. In fact, they got to know me so well. One swap I missed, they write an email to me asking what happened. So I enjoy telling stories, enjoy creating them. A lot of passions drive me. I love animals. I love the environment. I love spending a lot of time in nature. And I love reading books. Great many passions in my life that drive me. And I think most of my stories reflect that. So sometime in June 22, I fell into deep depression. It was also because of chemical imbalance. I was on the wrong drugs for epilepsy. And I think that really drove me into a deep abyss of darkness. And for a long time, I stayed there with no tool to come out of it. I really suffered. I really wanted to get out of it, but I had no clue how. My family suffered along with me, my husband and my two daughters. But of course, they stood by me. They loved me. They took care of me, including a few of my friends. A very close friend of mine said, I can't bear to see you like this anymore. So towards end of 23, she insisted that I go and see another psychiatrist. I was already seeing two psychiatrists. They put me onto all kinds of drugs. I was having hallucinations. I was having all kinds of problems and no sleep at all. For since the time I got depressed, there was absolutely no sleep during the day, during the night. I don't know how I managed. Anyway, in 23 December, I went to see this new psychiatrist, a lady called Dr. Yamini, who I would highly recommend to everybody. She just took one look at me and she said, chemical imbalance. Of course, I fought with her too, but she insisted that I should stop all drugs and go back to the original drug I was taking for my seizures. And that was a very low dose. 2 months it took for me to get back to more or less my normal stable self. And then a lot of other things happened. I met Sampurna, Dr. Sampurna, who's a psychologist. She's also a trainer based on the philosophy of Louise Hay. I don't know how many of you have heard of Louise Hay, but I went for a workshop by Sampurna. That was a for me. I came out of it completely changed, not the previous Renu, but a totally new Renu. Then I also decided to go and get trained to become a workshop leader. I got trained. I went for 1 week to Tiruvannamalai, spent a lot of money, but it was totally worth it because it helped me to understand myself better and how to help others. Now, sound therapy is very much part of that. That was not part of the training, but a separate workshop that I attended with Sampurna. And I thought this is something that I must share with others. So here I am presenting a workshop with you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you start practicing it, and I hope it helps because depression is something that all of us go through, probably at different levels, not the kind of level that I experienced. But like another friend told me, depression is actually a blessing. And we need to talk about our experiences because when we talk about our experiences, I think it helps others also to understand I'm not alone. So anytime somebody says I'm depressed, I'm down, I immediately talk to them. I send them this beautiful book, The Power of One Thought, written by B.K. Shivani. It's a very, very powerful book. It makes us understand what life is all about, gives you a different perspective about life, and it helps you understand yourself and other human beings. Now, every time I look at another human being, I look at them as only as a pure soul, someone who is very, very good and kind and understanding, even if they are being a little nasty towards you, but I can see that they are actually very good. It's the circumstances, it's our experiences that make us behave in a particular way. But if you look past that, you look only at somebody who's very pure. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself, I'm a good person. I love and accept myself as I am, which is something nobody is taught since childhood. So let's go into sound therapy now. So the minute you hear sound therapy, what comes into your mind? Anyone can unmute and answer. Yes, Veena.
Therapy, you know that word? It means good, but there are so many things attached to it. And then, depending on how your mind is, you go in for that side. Therapy? Therapy.
And what would you mean by sound?
Sound to me is music.
Oh, so music therapy,
Any
basically
music.
music therapy. Okay, anyone else?
I visualize some bowls,
Oh,
maybe because of the pictures that we have seen about sound therapy and the ads.
and what does therapy stand for you?
Healing.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Shri.
Yeah, therapy is to remove the stress and anxiety that we face in our mind and body as well. And I have experienced one kind of sound healing, like the ball was kept on me, and the vibrations of the sound took you into a trance, and I felt very lighter after going through that. So that is what I thought sound therapy is all about. Sound is different frequencies that reach to us. Sometimes sound can be noise, but sound like Veena said. Sometimes, if it is rhythmatic and is soothing, it could be music. It could be either ways. Too much sound is also noise. Yeah. So
Okay, so anybody else who wants to talk about sound? Yes, yes, Jasmina.
Well, a therapy association for me is growing, healing, um, taking care of somebody or something. And when we are talking about sound therapy, for me, association is maybe bowl, therapeutic Tibetan bowls and some beautiful music, but as well nature sounds of nature, because for me they are very very therapeutic because we are all one. So it's coming back to our source,
True
let's say.
nature. Yes, our true nature is connected with nature because if you look at it, all the five Panchabhutas, we call them Panchabhutas in India. They are actually the five different energy sources. One is the sun, one is the water, one is the fire, one is space, and the other is, forget,
Yeah.
earth, water, fire, space, and one. Okay, all five
Sky,
present.
sky,
Sorry.
either,
Fire.
either, either.
Yeah.
Akash.
Akash, yes, space. So all five are also present in us. The five is also present in nature, which means nature is a part of us and we are part of nature. So there's no separation of the two. We are not separate. So the minute we move away from nature is then when we face all the problems that we do in the modern world. The more trees we cut, the more waters we sully, the more the sky is covered with smoke, the further we go away from nature, and that is why we have so many health issues, physical, mental health issues. So let us move on from here. Now I'm going to tell you what sound therapy is little later. But first, I want to create some sounds. I want you all to close your eyes first, please. Close your eyes.
Renu, I think it's not being captured.
Can't hear?
No.
Okay, doesn't matter.
That also was not coming.
Can you hear this?
No.
No, okay. Then forget the sounds. Forget it. Forget it. I thought I'll just give you an idea of the different sounds. This is also sound, but this doesn't really work as therapy. Okay. So what I wanted to tell you was that the universe or the supreme power or God, whatever you might call that power, which is high, much higher than human beings, perhaps we created ourselves or perhaps somebody created us, right? It could be either we created or somebody created. Some people say we created God, and sometimes some people say God created us. Could be either way. So we all are born with the power to heal ourselves. We don't need anything external. In fact, music therapy. Somebody said music therapy. Now, music therapy is very good for the psyche. Whereas the music that we can create ourselves is very good for the brain. for our bodily function. Brain is very, very important, right? If something here is not okay, it will definitely reflect on the body. So what I mean by sound therapy, which is what I learned, is that a body is capable of creating sounds that can heal. If somebody else could admit people, it really helped me. Okay, so sounds, what sounds does our body make? Okay, the first thing as soon as you wake up in the morning, what do? You stretch and say, ah, yes or no? How many of you say that? You don't? Nobody else does? How many of you do? Show me a thumb.
Sometimes.
Not regularly, Renu, once in a while,
You
when the
do, no?
body is demanding
It's
it. Not
automatic,
not
right?
every.
Sometimes we say, no, we shout because we are really stretching our bodies. I do it quite often.
I chant.
Okay. And sometimes you get hurt, you say, ah. Do you do that? Yes or no? Okay. And then supposing you want to admire somebody, say, ah. Do you do that? And what is that? What is that sound? What sound is that?
When we are hurt, it is like a moaning, we moan. Yeah.
No, it is
So,
actually a sound that
Ah.
has meaning.
Ah.
It's a vowel sound. Okay. Ah is the
okay.
first
Ah.
vowel.
First vowel.
First vowel. So we start, whenever we make this, without in thinking about it subconsciously, we are actually telling out vowels. And if you look at babies also they they're actually getting prepared for speech. Next time you come across a very small baby, say 6 months to 8 months, and they'll have a lot of drool coming out of their mouth. That is because they're preparing themselves for speech. They may not be saying any words, and sometimes they will put two vowel sounds or two sounds together and say amma or appa, because these are very easy words to say. These are the first few words that a child will say when they're getting ready to speak. So next time, please watch the baby. So there are sounds that our body will make, and these sounds are actually healing. Now, when you're saying the word om, you don't say om just like that, okay? In yoga, I learned the yoga instructor's course. In yoga, when you're doing pranayama, you say ah. So it's not just oh, it's ah. Oh. You try saying it to yourself. Try say it loudly since you're all on mute. Just say it. Ah. Oh. Drag out the ah should be a little short. O will be a little longer than that, and the O will be the longest. So do ah. Oh. With a very calm, close your eyes, say it very gently and softly. You will see the kind of peace and calm that comes into your body. You agree?
Yeah, when you say then literally you can see that the
Vibrations. Can you
vibration
feel the
comes from the
vibrations
center of
going
the
here?
head. Yeah. Here,
Yes.
here,
Those are
yeah.
the vibrations that come here and calm you down. So the more people have very often told me if you're feeling stressed, just lie straight on the bed, arms away, legs away. Totally, this is called the Shavasana, which means the death pose. Keep your arms and legs away from your body, but not like this, not at a right angle, but closer away from your body, but at the same side, by the side of your body, okay? And then say it several times. I used to do this very often when I was suffering from seizures. We say this is very, very good. Pranayama is very good to calm the body. So I've stopped doing, but I should go back to it. So when you do this for 10, 15 minutes, you will see how the body is starting to relax. Every part of your body that had been stressed before will start to relax. Okay, so this is another way of relaxing. This is again a combination of is not a vowel, but is a vowels. Is a consonant. So what they say is mm, oh, So will be the longest because is the only sound that has that vibrating effect. When you're doing Brahmaris, also it's like that. Understood till you're here, you're clear? Yes? Okay, so the rest of the sounds that we learned, that I learned as sound therapy is all the vowels. So we started off with ah. What is the next vowel in English? E. E, right? A-E-I-O-U. I'm just refreshing your memory. A-E-I-O-U. So we say the A as ah. It's, or you can say it as A, because A has different pronunciations depending on the word, right? Water, or it becomes, then it becomes plan, then apple, so A can take on different uh, pronunciations. So let's stick with as a we'll just stick with A. So you close your eyes and relax yourself and say ah. See how long you can keep it going. Take a deep breath, because when you take a deep breath, when you're saying ah, it's all exhaling. So in order to exhale, you also have to inhale. Take a long breath which goes into fills your lungs, fills your lower stomach. From the lower stomach, you have to bring it to the lungs. From the lungs, you have to bring it out to your mouth. So try it. Ah. You can do this several times if you wish. It's recommended you do it at least minimum 5 times before you move on to the next sound. Next sound is E. So you start off with, take a deep breath once again, fill up your lungs, fill up your tummy. You can feel it. Keep one hand on your lungs, one hand your tummy. The next sound is I. So let's go into the I sound. For all of them, please remember, keep one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach. And when you inhale, ensure that the lungs get filled up, the stomach gets filled up. And as you're releasing, please remember the stomach has to go in first, then the lungs go in, and then the air comes out of the mouth. I. The next one is O. O. Now in the sound U.
Renu, Renu,
Yes,
the last couple sounds didn't come through, and
didn't come through.
didn't come through. I'm really confused. Maybe you should unclick that studio, that musician
I think
thing.
so. One
Yeah.
second. How do you do that, Eric? It's not going away.
If you can click Zoom background noise removal or automatic background noise suppression, can you click either of those? Those are right above the uh,
You?
original sound from musicians. Zoom background noise
Okay,
remove.
okay. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So, and close the window
Yes.
and now try another sound.
Okay. I'll start with the second one. Are you able to hear that now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was not aware that was not happening.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So A, you were able to hear? Okay. I'll start with E now. So one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach till you get used to it. The next sound is I. I. The next sound is O. O. The last sound is U, which you normally don't hear as U. It's cut, put, subtle. So it's a sound. So we'll go with a. So these are the 5 sounds, the vowels, which are already existing in our body, which can actually help us heal. If we are aware of the knowledge that as human beings, the supreme power has given us the power to heal ourselves. Any kind of healing could be psychological, could be physical. And I hope all of you understand that the psychological, the brain, the mind, more than the brain, the mind has got tremendous power over the body. If the mind is not okay, the body 100% is not okay, which I have actually experienced myself. The more my mind went into darkness, the more weight loss I suffered. I went down to 43 kilos from a good, healthy 56 kilos. I went down to 43. I looked like a sack of bones. I looked terrible. I had no sleep, 24 hours, no sleep. I could not eat. I could not go to the washroom. I could not pass motion. So it was one difficult period for me. And that realized, when I came out of my depression, I realized the power of the mind over the body. That is why very often they say psychosomatic, because the psyche has great power of the soma. And very rarely does the soma have power of the brain. Of course, when you are going through, you're having a terrible sickness, a physical sickness, it does make you sluggish mentally. But otherwise, the soma, the body doesn't have that much control or power over the mind. The mind is extremely powerful, and so are our thoughts. Thoughts, you have to be very, very aware of thoughts. Most of us are not aware of our thoughts. So I would like to ask you one question. How many thoughts do you have in a day? How many thoughts do you think all of us have in one day? You can guess. Yes. No answer is wrong. You can guess how much ever you want. Nobody really sits and counts the number of thoughts. More than 500. Okay. Somebody said 10,000. 16,000. Okay. 10,000. Somebody said 1 lakh. Okay. 16,000. 500. 10,000. Anybody else would like to try? 15,000 to 50,000. Okay.
12,000 to 60,000.
30,000. Anyone else? Okay, the actual number of thoughts we have on any particular day, every day, in fact, is about 6,500 thoughts. Now, in these 6,500 thoughts, do you think they're all new, fresh thoughts? Or are they repetitive? Do you think every time we think it's a new thought?
I think some are connected to the past and some about future.
Okay. Now, when I say repetitive, do you think it's the same thought going over and over again? Can you give me an example, anyone?
Guilt,
Can you give me an example, please?
guilt,
No, give me an example of a thought that keeps repeating.
Why did she not talk to me?
It
Why
goes on.
did she ignore me?
Why hasn't she replied to my text yet?
Why hasn't she replied to my text? And then, of course, the whole channelization goes, oh, maybe she doesn't like me. Oh, maybe, the whole channel of thoughts is based on that one thought.
Yeah. And also, when you do something like somebody said, why did I do that? Why could I have not avoided it? I could have avoided. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? I should not have done that. Oh my God, you get stuck in that moment. You're stuck in that past moment. You can actually move away from that past moment, but you're still stuck there. And that is the reason why so many of us get ourselves into trouble. Because always stuck in the past or stuck in the future. Am I going to get it? Will I do it? Will I be able to do it? I don't have too much faith in myself. You go for an interview, come back and say, oh God, I wish I could get it. I'm not sure. I think most probably I won't get it. These are all thoughts inside your head. Okay, so these are the kind of thoughts we get. So in order to get rid of these thoughts, in order to stay away from these thoughts, can we actually stay blank? Can we remove these thoughts from our head? Is it possible? Can we stay absolutely blank with no thoughts at all?
No.
Not possible. So the best way of dealing with thoughts in our mind is either chanting or by doing this exercise of ah, e, I. Because when you're chanting that, there is no question of thought coming inside your head. You're so focused. You're so focused. That's why I said, keep your hand here, keep your hand in your stomach. Be careful. Be conscious of your breath. Ensure that it's going from your stomach to your lungs, from your lungs to your mouth. So when you're so conscious of all these things, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, there is no scope for thoughts inside your head. Okay, I think my battery is running out. So let me just quickly put on the charger. 1 second. Sorry.
The thought coming into my head, will I tell the story properly? It's done. Don't live in the past. No? Then we keep on, did I do well? Did I not do well? Oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that. It goes on and on and on.
Yes, that is also another way of thinking. Did I tell my story well? I could have done this. Oh, I missed out telling this. I could have added this, could have added more power to my story. And we wait for external validation. The minute somebody says, oh, Veena, you did a wonderful job. That was really good. It resonated with me. Then you feel, okay, I must have done a good job. Still, somewhere at the back of your head is niggling. Oh, Veena, if only you had added that you'd have got more accolades from the people. Right? Am I right? Yes, all of us go through this. Every single human being goes through this. Either we are living in the past or living in the future. We never appreciate the present moment. But let me tell you one thing. After I went to the dark period, the darkest, I went to the deepest abyss. I cannot tell you what I experienced at that time. The kind of feelings, the thoughts. But when I came out of it, it was like there's a bright light. And I was completely transformed. I was not the Renu that I was before. Completely different person, capable of loving everything and everybody. And the more love I give out, the more love I'm receiving, even from strangers. Thoughts are so powerful. Today I channelize my thoughts so beautifully. The minute a negative thought comes in, I say, okay, that is my ego. I don't want my ego, and I kick it out. The biggest enemy we have in our lives, we don't need any external enemy. The biggest enemy is already within us, that is our ego. Ego drives anger, ego drives competition, ego drives selfishness, ego drives jealousy. Ego doesn't allow us to be the best version of ourselves. If you really want to be a better person, be conscious of your ego and kick it out. Anytime you feel, oh, she's not that good, I'm better than that, that's your ego talking. And kick that out. Because that ego will not let you be your most beautiful self. All of us are pure souls capable of giving so much love to this universe. But ego controls it. There must be some challenge in our lives, right? That the one who created us must give us some conflict, some challenge within ourselves. Because everything is within us. All the good that we are capable of, all the things that we want to do, everything, the potential is there. But there is also the Ravana. I don't consider Ravana demon or a negative influence, but just to give you an idea, Ravana is present, stopping you from doing that. The Rama is trying to help you. So when I listen to stories from the Itihasa like Mahabharata or Ramayana, I know these are all metaphors to help human beings to rise above themselves and become the true nature of themselves. But none of us do that. We get stifled, we get drawn down by our egos. So if you really want to come and be the best version of yourselves, become aware of your ego. Every time you feel that negative feeling, what is negative feeling? Jealousy, anger, these are all self-destructive. Who feels the anger first? You. And anger is self-destructive. Now, why is anger there in the first place? You know why? When anger is born, then as a child, you have been treated badly. You have been ignored. Nobody has given a damn about you. You feel fear, you feel sadness, you feel guilt. And in order to handle all of this, in order to protect you, anger is formed. Because anger thinks, if I handle situation, things will be better for me. And so all of these come forth as anger. The minute I raise my voice, the minute I scream, people will sit down and listen. People are scared of me when I open my mouth and scream and shout. But that is the reason why we have anger. But if you know the reasons behind this anger, you know, oh, it is fear, it is guilt, it is sadness, you can actually manage your anger. You can actually calm it down and say, I don't need you anymore. I can take care of myself now. Yes, I needed you when I was a child. Yes, I needed you as I was growing up. But now I can take care of myself. I know how to deal with others without anger. Because when you see there are two people and somebody is shouting and you stay absolutely calm and you don't say a word. And finally, when this person cannot keep shouting without somebody saying something here, so that person after some time will stop. Then you can smile and say, are you feeling better? Because that person was nothing but venting. You know what the anger was all about? Anger was within that person that was angry with himself or herself, couldn't express it to themselves, was projecting it onto you. You're not the real person. So if you don't receive that anger, that person will also calm down. Try it out this time, next time. Even if it's their fault, your fault, just wait. Just stay quiet. Don't say a word. And you'll see this person calming down. You're actually helping that person. Because that anger was never against you. Remember that. Anger was always self-driven. It's always towards ourselves. Because something within us is lacking. Something within us is irritating us, but we cannot express it to us. Can you turn around and say, Reno, I hate you, you're such a fool, I don't like the way you're behaving? You can't, because where is the solution? Do you feel better after shouting at yourself? No. Best is shout at somebody else, make them feel bad, make them feel sorry, then you feel, I feel better now. It's called venting. So how do you get out of this? Simply by changing yourself. Many people have come to me of late after I came out of my depression. They come and said, this person is irritating me. I don't know what to do with her, or I don't know what to do with them. And I asked them simply this one question. What is it in you that is attracting that person's behavior? What is it in you? Just think to yourself, what is it in you? There's something in you that is attracting them. You are attracting them because the same quality is within you. You change that quality within yourself, that person will not come to you again, or that person will be changed. You cannot change others. Only person you can change is yourself. And once you change yourself, you see the change around you. So I'm going to teach you another meditation for you to deal with anger. Anger is not your enemy. Anger is not something you should be angry about. But anger is something you can manage. There's something called road rage, right? I'm sure many of you have experienced that. People trying to overtake, people honking, despite the fact that there is a red light and you can't go past it. Supposing you're one of those who actually believes in rules and you stop at a red light, but there's lots of people who don't want to stop at a red light. They're in a hurry, they want to go. You go on honking. When I'm driving, I just ignore them. I say, if you want such a hurry, grow wings, fly above my car and go. Keep going. But I'm not moving. For me, red light is a red light. And that's it. Whereas my husband will start screaming, shouting, and look in the mirror and say, I said, listen, that man is not going to change. Only one who can actually see you and hear you is me. And I don't want to see it. Calm yourself down. And somebody will come from this side, somebody will come from this side, somebody will come from this side. Everybody, every side, you should have eyes all around your head. But none of this thing bothers me. I just drive my way. Finished. I don't look this side, don't look that side. I ensure I don't hit anybody. Give way. Even if they're coming the wrong way, I let them go. Go. No problem. You will meet your nemesis somewhere. So I'm going to teach you something which will take care of how to manage your anger. Would you like to learn that? I want to see thumbs up, please. Okay. So what you need to do is close your eyes and I'll take you through the meditation. I do this every single morning for 5 minutes. Keep your feet comfortably on the floor. Your feet should be on the floor. Make contact with the earth because the earth is a part of us. Barefoot if possible. And if you want to keep your hands in a very comfortable position, place your hands in your lap. Place the right hand or the left palm on top of the other one. And as you breathe and take a deep breath, like I said, it should fill up your lungs and your stomach. Say this to yourself and breathe out. I am willing to release. Don't say it out because then your breath will in your mind. I am willing to release. As you release your breath, say I am willing to release. Next breath, while you're taking and releasing, say I'm willing to forgive. Next breath, I'm willing to release my scalp. Scalp. Next breath, I release all the muscles behind my eyes. Next, I release forgiveness. Next one, I release love. Next one, I release all fear. Next one, I release all sadness. Next one, I release all guilt. Next one, I release anger. Next one, I am me. Next one, I am safe. Next one, it's safe to be me. Next one, I release, I relax. Next one, I release, I'm in peace. That's it. That's the mantra. That is you need to do it at least 3 times. That will cover 5 minutes. Every day, 5 minutes, I do this. Then every day for 5 minutes, I chant Om. That may not go well with everybody, but chanting Om is also very powerful for the brain. It calms it down, soothes it, and opens it up to new learning. So you can also chant Om. Chant that for 5 minutes. And the third chant, which I do for 5 minutes, is the Anulom Vilom. That is like this, closing your one nostril, breathing with both nostrils fully, then closing one, breathing out of the second one. That again you can do for 5 minutes. So 15 minutes of meditation, just focusing on your breath. Anulom Vilom is also part of yoga, or it's also called Nadi Shuddhi. Can do that. For 15 minutes, if you do this meditation every single day, I do it and it just calm me a lot. I follow this diligently. Earlier, when I used to wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning, I used to get very angry, I used to curse. But now when I wake up at 3 in the morning, I find there's plenty to do. So I get up, brush my teeth, come downstairs. I light a lamp for God. I pray for everybody, including the world, including all my storyteller friends and everybody who needs help, animals, environment. Then I chant the Vishnu Sahasranama, which is 1,000 names of Vishnu. After that, I write my gratitude journal. Writing a gratitude journal is very, very important, especially if you're falling into depression. It makes you realize how you're grateful for. But if you've already fallen deep into depression, it really doesn't help. People told me, write gratitude, you should feel grateful for this, that. It just falls on deaf ears because you're already in that state. Then after that, I write my gratitude journal. Then I write my affirmations journal. After which I do a little bit of cooking, that's cooking to be done. Then I go for a long walk, 3 to 4 kilometers. I go to the beach, I stand there, do some meditation. Then I come back home and I'm ready for the day. And right through the day, I'm a happy person. I don't think I felt unhappy in the last few months. Every day in my journal, I write, thank you for this beautiful day for me to cherish and make happy memories. So I ensure that I make happy memories. I don't have any unhappy memory looking back. I take each day as a gift. I enjoy to the maximum and I don't leave any room for unhappiness. That is my mantra today. And if you see me, you'll see the transformation. I'm very, very happy. I'm smiling all the time. I don't get angry easily. I don't shout at people, which I used to do all the time. I was a very short-tempered person, let me admit. I was not this Renu before. I used to get angry. I was jealous of people. Today, I don't feel any jealousy. I feel that everybody is unique. Everybody is good at what they do. Everyone is talented, capable of doing whatever they want to do. But you must tell yourself that. You stand in front of the mirror and say, fantastic person you are. You are the best. You're unique. You're capable of doing anything you want. The universe will support you. I love the universe. The universe is a part of me and I'm a part of the universe. The universe takes care of all my needs. I'm a precious child of the universe. You keep saying this every single day, you start believing it. And then everything you think comes true for you. Recently, I've gone to Hyderabad. One of my friends, Meera Vishwanath, I think many of you will know her. She's a storyteller. I was staying with her and she had taken me on her scooter to about 3 kilometers away. There's this huge place, Agricultural University. So we had gone there for a walk. She loves to walk. I love to walk. So we went for a long walk. Then she said, you're too fast for me to keep pace. You keep carrying on. She told me exactly how to go so that I won't get lost. So I went. I went for a long walk, came back to the bike. She still hadn't come. So I went for another long walk. And I came back again. She wasn't there. So I went and sat down there where she could see me if she came back to the spot. And I sat and waited and waited and waited. Sign of her. So I thought, what could have happened to her? I didn't have my phone with me. I didn't have anything with me. I didn't even know her address fully. So I sat there and I said, okay, let me use my thoughts, my vibrations to bring her back. So I closed my eyes and said, Meera, come back, Meera, come back, Meera, come back. Within 2 minutes, she was back. I said, Meera, why did you, what made you come back? She said, Renu, I was feeling something, told me I must come back, come back, come back. That is the power of our thoughts. Vibrations. You send out positive vibrations, you get only positive vibrations. I see on my morning walk, strangers smile at me, and I smile back. So that is the beauty. Once you start transforming yourself, you'll see everything around you is changing. And because I go around appreciating my garden, which I used to do earlier also, but not so much. Now I appreciate my garden so much. My garden is always full of flowers. It's as though they're telling me, look at me, look at me. So that is how powerful we are as human beings. That's how powerful our thoughts are. So when we can we can channelize the power. We can channelize it very easily by just working on ourselves. Every single day I do mirror work. Mirror work is very, very powerful. So every morning as soon as I get up and before going to sleep at night, these are the two powerful times when the subconscious is very awake. When you can easily convince and influence the subconscious. The subconscious is what has been storing all your experiences right through your childhood. So subconscious can also be converted. But you have to do it consistently, constantly. You can't do it for 2-3 days and then say, okay, I'm done. No, it has to be done every single day. To do that, you will see the difference. I think we still have about half an hour left. So I would like each one of you, if you have drawing paper and pencil, can you draw your thought? One thought. Can you draw? How the thought would look if you were to draw it. It can be an angry thought, can be happy thought, whatever thought you want. Give it a physical look to it. I'm going to go get myself some water. I'll be back. Thank you. Are you all done? or you can take more time, another 2 minutes. And whoever feels like sharing it can share, please. I think the only way to show it, Jasmina, is to hold it below your chin and come as close as you can to the camera. Because yesterday when I was trying to show my picture, I couldn't see anything. It was completely blurred. See, I can't see anything here. Hold it below your chin. Hold it below your chin. And try to bring it to the camera. Hold it below your chin, far away from you. I mean, closer to you. Closer to you. Can't see. When it's white background, I think it's a little difficult to see it. Maybe you can take a screenshot and share it. Yeah, take a picture and share it. Yes, Helen. I'm sorry, but I can't see. Yeah, little bit if you can move back. Hold it under your chin and move back. Are you exactly in front of the camera? Okay, I think I can't see. So what you all can do is take a picture. Yeah, show Helen. Good that you put yourself. I think because you're using a backdrop, the whole you and the drawing are disappearing. You're using a Zoom background, right? That's why. When you put it up, the whole thing is disappearing. Even yours, I can't see. A little bit at least I can see of yours, Shri. Yeah, you're showing some birds. Are there birds in that? Um, okay. Yeah, fish. Okay. Very nice. Clouds. See what Karuna is doing. Very nice. Trees, fish, birds, sun, clouds. Very nice. And what does that thought represent?
The thought represents peace and calm whenever I am in nature. As you were mentioning at the start of the workshop, the 5 elements of nature. I could feel grass and earth below me, the water, the river, and the fire in the sun and the sky. The clouds represented the sky, so I wanted all the 5 elements to be there. So that
Very
is
nice.
what my drawing
So
must have
when
been.
your mind is calm, this is how your thought will represent. Very nice. Thank you. So you can show any kind of thought, angry thought, nice thought, happy thought. How would you what do you say? Personify a thought? Supposing it had to be a human being, how would you personify a thought, a human, in the human form? An angry thought, a happy thought, or a sad thought? If you had to personify, how would you show it? Any which way you can show. It's very difficult to transform the what do you call it? The not entity, no. Something that you cannot touch into something that you can see. I'm not getting the right.
Intangible.
Intangible, correct. Thank you, Priyanka. Yes. Intangible, to make it tangible is a little challenge.
You know, the Little Men books, sometimes they show Mr. Angry and Miss Jealousy, Miss Envy. So I think they've tried to.
Yeah, personify, yes.
Pri is a wonderful artist, huh? You should see her drawing. I always wait for her drawings in Circle of Love. She is amazing. She's multi-talented.
Oh,
So
very
as
nice.
as I did the meditations that you helped us, Renu, there were some spiral movements and some vibrations that all I wanted to draw.
Okay, what does it represent?
Uh, I felt it was a process, something that I started, but it's going.
Never ending.
Yes, exactly. It's a very vague thought, but I just let it be whatever I felt.
Maybe it also represents never ending thoughts. They could be angry, they could be happy, they could be sad. Spiral,
Perhaps.
spiral of thoughts. No problem, Jasmina. At least it gives you food for thought, no? How you can represent an emotion which is not really tangible, something that you cannot touch. Yet emotions are so much a part of our makeup, isn't it? All the emotions are very much a part of us. Without emotions, what will we be? So what I would say, what I've started thinking, which I've always thought, is that there is no person that is so bad that there's no little bit of good in them. So when you really look at another thing, I find that most of us as adults, at least, and we do it to each other also even now, we do it to our children. You know, when the child does something wrong, not even say wrong, by mistake they drop a glass and break it, or they walk into the house with muddy feet, or by mistake they drop a painting and break it, or they might even do something just to draw attention to themselves. Anything, something that's small, destructive. The first thing we tell them is bad boy, bad girl, horrible child, what a naughty child. Now, the child is not bad. What the child did was wrong. Maybe what the child did was not the right thing to do. So maybe we could change our language also. Change our language and say what you did was not right. Perhaps next time we can be more careful. And if you're angry, that's not the way to show your anger. If you're feeling that angry, go outside and jump a few times, get over it and come back. And every time you do this kind of thing, please apologize. And when the child apologizes, we also have this habit of saying it's okay. It's not okay. What the child did was not okay. So you can always say, I forgive you. I accept your apology and move on with that. Because that is one thing you're also passing on to your children. You're teaching them without moralizing, without actually saying, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. You're showing them how to be a good human being and how to carry this forward into their future relationships. Because what we tell our children becomes their reality. And that reality they will carry forward to their other relationships. That is why I always tell parents, children never learn from instruction. They learn from observation. So you can tell your child, don't tell lies, but the next minute you're lying to somebody on the phone or to some neighbor, you're saying, no, no, I wasn't there. That's why I forgot all about it. Oh, I forgot. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But actually, you would have forgotten. You didn't want to go, which the family knows. These are many, many things that we need to remember. Even if you have a teenage child, still not too late to change. Even if you have grown-up daughters, still not too late to change. And when you do something wrong, always apologize. Even to a 2-year-old, you can apologize. That's the only way children will learn. Otherwise, we're going to continue the cycle of being nasty to one another. Why are relationships not working out? Because nobody ever tells us what is the right way or wrong way of raising a child. And this continues as a cycle down generations. And you can be the one to stop and say, I don't want to take this forward. My parents used to have terrible fights, terrible fights. Very violent language they used to use. They didn't hit each other, but they used such violent language against one another. And I decided, no, I will not do this. Firstly, I never want to get married or have children because of the experience I had with my parents. They were good people. Both of them as individuals were very good people. But they just couldn't get along. Every single foul language they could find in their vocabulary, they would use it. But when I had my children, I've not ever used any of those words. Never. I decided I don't want to carry this forward. And it stopped there. So my children never learned any of the language. And both my husband and I have never, ever had big fights in front of them. We kept our fights private. We didn't want to get them scarred. Like I was scarred. I was totally scarred. But then these are things that we need to remember before we become parents. I've read for many parenting workshops. I read lots of parenting books. I did the Montessori training when my younger one was 4 and my older one was 10. Even then, I felt it was too late because when my older daughter was 5, by accident, we had bought some new wine glasses. She also wanted to help us. She picked up one glass. By mistake, she broke it, and both my husband and I shouted at her. Poor thing wept, was in tears when she left the kitchen. And after that, I felt terrible when I did the Montessori. Immediately after that, I felt terrible. I said, why the hell? Because broken things, material things can be replaced, but a child's emotions will stay with them forever. It becomes a part of their personality. So these are things that we need to keep in mind. Whether it's our own children or the children you're dealing with, we're all handling children. In so many ways, through our stories, we can help children. I always modify stories. I bring in all the things that are very important, which are values that I believe in, and something that both my husband and I, we have almost the same values about truth, honesty, about not hurting animals, about gender equality, all of that. I transfer these messages to my stories and never ever again in a moralizing way, but as a part of the conversation in the story, I bring it out beautifully so that somewhere it's going inside the psyche of the children. That's the power we storytellers have. We can transform the world. We have that power. And let's do it. Let's not moralize. I still hear some storytellers saying, you need to be kind. Okay, be kind. They may not say the moral of the story is, but be kind. Remember, be kind. That doesn't work. You can say in the story, and then lizard said to the bear, be kind from now on. Don't do this again to somebody else. The bear says, yes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. And the lizard says, I accept your apology. So this way, I'm passing on that message to children. At the same time, I'm not telling them directly. See, next time don't do this, okay, to your friends. Don't fight with them. Don't and apologize. Accept apology. I don't say that. They're not going to listen to me. Who am I? But when you tell it through the story, somewhere it's going inside. Not only in their heads, also in the parents' heads. And when I'm telling stories, I include everybody. I call the parents big children, small children. And when they're using mobile phones, I tell them, big children, don't use mobile phones. Do you allow small children to use? Ah, yes, yes. Ma'am, they don't allow us to use mobile. They always take it away from us. I said, yes. If you use a mobile phone, I'll take it for a week. And the children are so excited. I tell them. So any thoughts, any feedback, anything that you feel like I could have covered better, something that you wanted to learn more, something that you felt was missing from the workshop, please feel free to share. I always invite brickbats as much as I invite cookies. And today I feel I'm on such a inward journey. I'm still exploring, I'm still growing, I'm still learning to grow more and more. I'm attending many workshops for myself, reading many books that are helping me shape my personality even better. So I'll be very happy if you tell me things that need improvement. I'll be very happy to incorporate that in my next workshop. So please go ahead and tell me whatever comes into your mind and says, this was not good enough for me, or this was not clear enough, or this could have been better. I'll be very, very happy to receive it with gratitude. So please go ahead and share your thoughts. Every one of you who was attending this workshop and found it useful, who found that, okay, little bit at least I learned something of value, please tell me. And if you feel that there was something missing, or I came expecting this, but my expectations were totally not met, I'm very happy to listen. I believe that success should not go to my head and failures will not go to my heart. That's something I'm very clear about. For me, whether I receive brickbats or I receive bouquets, I will accept it with the same grace because both are good for me. Yes, Jasmina.
Dear Renu, first of all, I would like to say thank you. I was thinking that it will be about instruments. I don't know about sound therapy,
Yeah.
but in fact, I'm very glad because we are instrument. we are making sounds and breathing and can heal ourselves with deep breath and so on. So I'm very fond of that I'm not satisfied, but I'm satisfied in some unexpected way. And I was breathing very deep, and it helped me right away. And it's very good to draw our thoughts, not to show that we are artists, but just to be aware what we are thinking of, maybe in some other way, visual way. So I would like to say thank you, just thank you for that. Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much to share
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you. Thank you for feedback, Jasmina. Anyone else? We have 15 more minutes, so we can fill that up with feedback.
I'll go.
Yes,
Um, Renu, this was an absolute surprise package. It was a gift because, as Jasmeena just mentioned, this is beyond our expectation. In fact, having expectation itself gives the joy. So this was wonderful. And I must say that it needs a lot of courage. It needs a lot of courage to talk about one's medical condition or to talk about what the parents, uh, how it was scarred by somebody. So I think you were very, very brave to give examples from your real life and to share your journey. This was incredible. It's not as easy as you make it sound. And I also want to confess to everybody who's here that during my low time, I was honored because Renu couriered me B.K. Shivani's book, The Power of One Thought. And I will admit that I'm somehow just not getting started. So it's totally up to us. Like she says, the win, the uniqueness, everything is inside. And as Jasmina said, we are the instrument. So literally and metaphorically, we are the instrument. And somehow I'm just not getting started. And although I have the tool with me, I have been empowered by Renu. Today was also an empowering session. I'm just hoping for myself. Let's see. Thank you.
it will happen when the time is right, Priyanka. It came to me at the right time when I read the book at the right time. I'm sure if it had come to me earlier, I wouldn't have read it. So when the time is right, it will come to you, we'll read it.
So, like Jasmina and Pri, even when because as I confessed earlier, I had been to a sound healing session myself. Was one of during my low times too. So, I was thinking that you will do with a bowl and will experience the sounds of that that bowl, like the Tibetan Buddhist monk bowl kind, and or some kind of music you will play through this one. But when you did that, because I did my yoga when I was in eighth grade, and we were taught to chant Om and the Brahmari Pranam, that starts from the tummy, and when O it goes here and comes from here.
Yes.
After ages, I could literally feel that total vibration, and yeah, so I could feel the calm, I could feel the peace, and yeah, as Pri says, it was like a surprise, and so with each and every sound, especially recently, I was very unwell and my body was aching. I had severe headache and I was moaning. So I realized that when we make these sounds, why do we make sounds when we are sick? When we are sick, we make the sound so that we get relief from the pain our body is experiencing when we let it out as a sound, when we say moan. When we are extremely in sound, when extremely in pain, we moan. That moan is an outlet. The sound is an outlet of the pain. Many a times for physical pain, we do moan. But when it is emotional pain, we don't let out. We are bottled, we are silent, and at that time, we need that someone who can bring out so that we can rant, we can pour out all our emotions. That's when we feel relieved. And yeah, it was an eye opener kind. Most of what you shared today, as we are very close and we talk often, I know what you all went through, how you came out, and all that. And it's so good that many a times we feel that people are judgmental around us and we don't open out in public what we go through. But it is your goodness of the heart and of the soul that what you went through in this times of social media and competitive world, like we always feel, oh, they are doing better than us, they're doing better than us. Why are we not getting opportunities? And this kind of thoughts do come because, as we said, in single day, so many thoughts go through our mind. But when those thoughts come, how to overcome those negative thoughts, how to calm ourselves and be. And your routine, it takes a lot of discipline. And thank you so much for gifting me that book, The Power of One Thought. Um, I think I traveled from Chennai to Arunachalam with my dad that time. So my father wanted to read it, and I left it with him. And this is the time I brought it back, and I still have to give it a thorough reading. And very much thankful for this workshop and reiterating all that you have been as a friend sharing with me all these days too. Thank you, Renu.
You're welcome. There's also another book by Louis Hay. Louis Hay philosophy is what I got trained in. And there's another very nice book called You Can Heal Yourself. You can heal your life. So if you feel like it, you can buy that book, Louis Hay. You'll get it on Amazon. That book is also great help because it actually teaches you how to heal each part of your body. What are the affirmations you need to tell? In fact, when I had first told my husband about this heal your life and all, he was sort of just shrugging it off and says, I really don't believe in any of this. But actually, when he started saying the affirmations, he says he doesn't do it as regularly as me, but he says it has made a huge difference in his life. Especially when I had a swelling on my leg, on my calf, on my left calf. I had a very bad, severe swelling, very painful. It used to balloon down onto my ankle. I couldn't walk, I couldn't climb stairs. This was during the depression. So what happened was, I was slowly coming out of it. It already started seeing the new psychiatrist. She had given me the just a very low dose drug, and I felt that I can heal myself. I'd gone to two orthopedists. Both of them had given me lots of antibiotics. Nothing had worked. So I started working on my healing. I mean, working on my swelling, and you won't believe this. Within a month, it was gone. That's how powerful it is. All of us are powerful. Our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts make our reality. So please remember the next time you're thinking negative thoughts, that is what you send out is what you'll attract. So start sending out good vibrations. Then you will get everything that you want. You'll get good things back. But in fact, my whole family depends on me. They'll ask me, Amma, I want this. Will it happen? And I'll say, yes, it will happen. It's like the law. And it happens simply because I'm sending positive vibration. And this is anybody can do. It's not just me. I'm not some strange special person. No. I tell each one of you has the power. Each one of you is unique. Each one of us has unique talents that we can put to good use. But it's up to you to recognize that, work on yourself, and nothing is impossible. That much I can tell you. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Anything you want in life, anything I'm telling you with such strong belief, anything you want, you can get. Provided you want it and you believe in it and you believe in yourself. Most importantly, you must have faith in yourself. Faith in the universe, faith in yourself, because you are powerful. Remember, you're part of this universe is a part of you. All of us are actually spiritual beings going through a human experience. Ask my friend long back, are we human beings going through a spiritual experience, or are we spiritual beings going through a human experience? She also said we are spiritual beings going through a human experience. We are all spiritual beings. We are all souls, pure energy, pure consciousness. We are capable of communicating with each other by just passing energy. And I proved that with Meera recently. So many times it's happened to me. It's like a miracle. Okay, I think I have just 5 more minutes left. What shall we do? We shall do some together something that we can chant. Another powerful chant is the Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra, whoever knows Gayatri Mantra, please chant it every day. I think Gayatri Mantra is taught only to boys during the thread ceremony, but Gayatri Mantra is very, very powerful. So if you know the mantra, please chant it morning, night, every day. It's very, very powerful, very good for the brain. That's this lady who comes on YouTube and tells certain mantras are very, very good for the brain. Makes the brain really work to its optimum. We'll see, we have become very creative, we become very good. You won't believe, ever since I came out of my depression, I started telling myself, I'm very creative, I'm very creative. And every time I think of something, I'm getting such beautiful, wonderful ideas for stories, for drawings. I find I'm able to draw now. Earlier, I used to think I cannot draw, I'm not good at drawing. Every single thing, my cooking has become so good. Lip smacking good. My family enjoys it. I put my whole heart into it. I enjoy every single chore around the house. That is something I learned from this elderly lady, 103-year-old doctor. She says there are 5 L's in this world, 5 L's. One is love and life. Love and life go together. Without love, there is no life. Without life, there is no love. Like the example she gives is one seed falls down from a tree onto the ground. Now the ground is dry. But when a drop of rain falls on it, when the soil softens, the soil welcomes the seed inside, and the sun shines on the soil. This is love that the seed is receiving, and the seed starts to grow into a tree. So love and life go together. Then laughter. Laughter without love is cruelty, whereas laughter with love is bliss. Then labor. Labor without love is drudgery. Labor with love is happiness. Because you think that everything you do is giving you great deal of pleasure. And the last L is labor. I forget the last L, but all of them, she says, you remember the 5 L's and you live your life based on the 5 L's. And I'm living every morning when I get up, I say, oh, I have clothes to put in the machine. Yes. Clothes are done, I have to remove them. Yes. I need to dry them. Yes. I need to cook now. Yes. I have to send the dogs out. Yes. I need to go for my walk. Yes. Every single activity, I'm looking forward to every single day. And that makes my day go like that, happily, joyfully, and I enjoy every single second of the day. So I'm living only the present moment in the present day. I don't look at the past. I don't look at the future. And every time I make a mistake, I say, oh, it's okay, Renu. It's just a mistake. You can get over it. Otherwise, when I said, oh, no, I did this. Oh, I did do this. I could have done that. Oh, my whole day is gone on that one mistake. But now it's a mistake. Come on, leave it. Finished. And even if I lose some money, I say, after all, only money, no, I can earn it back. Bhul diya. So if you take that attitude, I tell you, life is beautiful and you'll be happy right there. Ends my workshop. Thank you all very much for attending, for listening, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And back to Eric.
Thank you very much, Renu. That was a wonderful session. And thank you all very much for participating. I'll stop the recording now.